continuing on that, I would also like to focus on the PVC pipes because the PVC piping is something that I have actually done at my house for sustainable growing of. I like to grow jalapenos. I also like to grow tomatoes and some lettuce because I have an iguana, and boy, do they love lettuce. But the PVC piping is something that I've hooked up to our well, and it's basically really effective in being able to spread water for a cheap cost because PVC piping can oftentimes just be repurposed and it can be reused instead of having to just go out and buy some. And even if it does have to be bought, it's not like it's the most expensive material rather than actually putting in serious infrastructure. So that could also be a talking point when people come to visit the garden about sustainable practices and repurposing older materials to be reused. Um, Other things such as the trellis for the pipe vine, um, the heating rocks for the butterflies so they can heat up and get any excess water off of them in order to make them fly a little bit easier. I think that is some of the key stuffs in the windbreak as well because the butterflies will have a hard time flying in high winds, so I think it's also important to have that windbreak there. The butterfly garden could be built next to a building so that way there's not as much wind and they have an easier time being able to fly around. So that design was kind of like the bare bones, and I wanted it to serve as the reference. So, of course, it could be improved upon by actual engineers or people who are able to design it a little bit more towards the liking of what is needed in the space that's available for the building. Um, Next, I decided to talk about local artists because no butterfly garden is complete without some type of artwork. And in my opinion, I did include two, and also I did want to mention, and I did mention it in my slides, that of course students who are pursuing an art degree or somebody who is very interested in maybe helping out and might be a potential candidate to provide some piece of artwork for the butterfly garden, that should definitely be considered because we have awesome raw potential at our school for somebody who might be able to or might be willing to give back to the school in the form of a piece of art and collaborate with the FGCU Food Forest, in their missions. So I think that would be really cool. But I also wanted to provide two local artists that I think have done a very good job in their career and that might be willing to also contribute and gain a little notoriety for helping out FGCU. And my favorite one is Gilbert Sanchez. I provided him. I actually saw he was in the news, and I was interested, so I went and checked out his page, and I thought he had some beautiful, beautiful sculptures. And, I think that it would be perfect if one of those could maybe be incorporated into the butterfly garden. His sculptures are very lifelike and realistic, and they just look absolutely amazing. So I wanted to really highlight his work because I think it is definitely a potential candidate for something to be introduced into the butterfly garden. But I also, I haven't reached out, which because I wasn't sure if I should, and I was a little bit worried about pricing and stuff like that if they decided to work on a price. So I was like, that could be left for when artwork is actually decided. So all that kind of stuff I didn't really want to get too much into because I was trying to have a good time with this project, and I figured that stuff would be kind of better left to somebody who knew about financial stuff. So I'm just hoping that it's realistic because I thought it was really cool that this guy has made some really awesome artwork in his past. So yeah, overall I think it was a very awesome project. I had a very good time with it, and I did enjoy it. I think that the mission of the Food Forest will definitely be spread through the butterfly garden. It really does connect with the three stools of sustainability, and I think that that all that kind of stuff can be taught at the butterfly garden. Having placards or possibly little, I don't know what you call them, postcards of information around the butterfly garden about the different plants and how they were grown and how they were locally sourced and how they were done in a way that they were grown in a way that was environmentally friendly, but also at the same time economics plays into that big time. So, and I definitely think that I got a lot of my inspiration for this project from the Naples Botanical Gardens because I visited there multiple times and I've been to their butterfly garden multiple times, and you know, that relates back to the field trip that I had where we were talking about the, I believe it was the marshland or the watershed ecosystems, and I had mentioned the butterfly garden too, because they have that at the botanical gardens as well. And I think, it really will make an impact on the community and having more people involved with sustainable practices for growing crops and food. And especially students, students too will be very interested to go to a butterfly garden, go visit the butterfly garden. And in going to the butterfly garden, even if they're not interested in sustainable growing practices, how could they go to the butterfly garden without at least learning who created it? Like, oh, we're going to go to the butterfly garden. Who is it made by? The FGCU Food Forest, What do they do? And, it sparks a conversation, which is one of the most important things to, get these kind of ideas out there. So I am really excited. I would love to be there on the day that, this garden actually opens. And, looking back on it, I think it'll be really cool in the future to hear about further developments with the garden. And maybe one day, when I'm graduated in the future, I could come back and revisit it and see, like, wow, I at least played some sort of part in this, and I hopefully some of my ideas get implemented. But I definitely think it was very cool. And I really enjoyed this project. Once again, I hope these audio clips actually work. I'm trying to do this in the most efficient way as possible. I also attached the other file for the butterfly and a garden project, not just the presentation slide, but the other slides that I did for all of the information to this, so that way that can be viewed and sent to whomever, because I never got a contact listing for somebody through the food forest. So I'm sure I can trust you with the information to be passed on to the right person, so that it can be utilized and actually make a difference. Once again, I really enjoyed this class. I really enjoyed this project. I hope you enjoy the project as much as I did. I did put a lot of time into it, and I thought it was a lot of fun. And, I think it's very cool to make a difference like this. So thank you so much, Professor. I hope you stay safe and have a wonderful fall semester, and I'm sure I'll see you soon.